What is up everyone, Nick here, and today I'm going to show you how to make your very own light up arc reactor, and today we're going real steel. That's right everyone, in previous videos we made arc reactors out of SLS printed aluminum, and in this video we're going to be making an arc reactor out of SLS printed steel. And on top of that, I'm going to show you the simplest way to light up your arc reactor using LED push lights. But this project wouldn't be possible without this channel's sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay is the industry leader in high-quality PCB manufacturing and 3D printing solutions. From custom circuit boards to innovative 3D printed prototypes, PCBWay offers unparalleled quality, fast turnaround times, and competitive pricing. And I couldn't be happier to have them as a sponsor of this channel. And if you use the referral link in the description of this video, you'll get $5 off your first order. And with that said, let's go to Past Nick to unbox the 3D printed parts I got a few days ago from PCBWay. Anyways, let's get to opening this box from PCBWay. So, let's see what we have inside, shall we? Still a ton of bubble wrap. Ooh, big ol' sticker. Comment below if you know what I should do with these giant stickers. Ooh, we got another goodie bag. Let's see what we got in here. Got sticker, got another one of these fancy rulers. This one's purple. I had the blue one, now I have a purple one. I'm gonna end up like Thanos. I'm gonna have like all the infinity stones, but it's just like different colored rulers. Okay, now let's move on to the actual metal parts. You're gonna love this. What's in here? Oh, dang, son. So, this is the outer casing for the arc reactor. This weighs a ton. This is probably like 100 grams alone. Like, it's dense. Moving along. What do we have here? Oh yeah, so these are the coils for the arc reactor. So once this is sanded and polished, we're probably going to paint these coils an orange or like a super light red. It'll depend on what I have in terms of paint, but yeah, no, this is gonna look pretty dang good once we're done. So this is supposed to sit on top of it just like so. Then last but not least, we also have a small detail part. So as you can see, the details on the top surface of the 3D print came out really, really good. And that's gonna sit just on the top, just like that, and then that's gonna go over that. So the only things we have left to print for this thing are the clear parts, and we also have the inner coil piece to print in resin. But before we do any of that, I'm gonna go in the shop with all of these. I'm gonna be sanding and polishing all of this, and then we're gonna start with the actual assembly itself.
One eternity later.
So I'm finally back inside. I got done sanding all the steel parts, and to say I have some opinions about the steel parts would be an understatement. Now here's why. How about we start with the good? The good is these feel incredible in the hand. Just these 3 steel parts alone weigh about half a pound. So by the time we're done assembling this thing, it might weigh close to a pound, which is pretty impressive. Now the negative, and this isn't really the fault of the parts, this is just something I should have known before I started sanding. Steel is much more durable than aluminum. Now, what does that mean for sanding? It means it's much more difficult to sand than aluminum. So in the end, I think I went through about 3 packets of sandpaper for my orbital sander just to get this smooth enough where I could start polishing it. However, it was 100% worth the effort because these parts look phenomenal. And once that initial pass was done, I was able to use 200, 400, 800, and then 2000 grit to really get these parts super, super smooth to get them ready for polishing. And once I got them super smooth, I just used standard polishing compound and a buffing wheel attached to a drill to really get them nice and shiny up to that mirror chrome finish. Now sadly over time, my Mark IV arc reactor has tarnished a little bit. It isn't nearly as shiny as it used to. However, I think the problem came to what I used as a sealer. On this arc reactor, I used all-clad aqua gloss to seal the metal, but it didn't really work all that well. And on this arc reactor, I used Duplicolor 1K gloss clear, and it did an incredible job. I clear coated this a few days ago, and I've been running my hands all over this thing, and it's just as shiny now as it was a few days ago when I originally polished these parts. So yeah, Duplicolor 1K, not that bad. And now that we've covered the metal parts that I used for this project, let's cover the resin printed parts really quickly. So let's start with these 2 pieces. Essentially, Neon Robotnik has quite a few variations of this one core part of the Mark II arc reactor. Personally, I decided to go with the one that had the hole in the center for the LED lights. But when I printed this part out, I decided to slice it in 2 halves. That way I wouldn't need any sort of supports to print it out. And then we have the outer ring piece. Not much to say. It's just a silly little clear donut that's going to be part of the arc reactor. Anywho. Doesn't matter. Yeah. These are the only parts that I would absolutely recommend you print in clear resin. I wouldn't really recommend printing this in like clear PETG or clear PLA Plus on an FDM printer. So if you absolutely need these parts in resin, PCBWay is a totally viable option. Not only do they do SLS metal 3D prints, but they also do resin prints. And lastly, we have this little fan piece. I slightly modified this 3D model because the hole wasn't large enough for the LEDs. So I basically just imported a cylinder, made it slightly wider, and then imported a second cylinder and cut a hole straight in the middle, slightly bigger than the original. And lastly, we have these little coil pieces. They're gonna go in the center of this clear core piece. And now that we've covered all of our 3D printed parts, it's finally time to start talking about the lighting. And unlike my other projects where I used NeoPixels to light these arc reactors up, we're gonna keep it simple today. And the reason why is because I discovered these. These are STAR-SPANGLED brand LED push lights. They come in packs of 5 and they look like this. Basically throw in some AAAs, you click on it, it lights up, and you stick it under a cabinet. That way you have easy access to a light. And this is where the plot thickens. So if you strip this thing down, you basically get this. This is a white diffuser piece, and right behind it you have a tiny PCB board with 4 LED lights attached to it. Now I'm pretty sure that Neon Robotnik never intended this to work the way it does, but for some reason, the inner diameter of this core piece aligns perfectly with this diffuser piece. They literally lock into each other and they're the exact same diameter on the outside. It is absolutely bananas. Now I can probably show you guys on the spot how this works exactly. So basically this twists off. This is the cover for the batteries. You push on this centerpiece so everything comes out the other way. Now I have the batteries and I have the lights. Now all I have to do is toss these AAAs in, click on the button, and it lights up. And not only does it perfectly align with this core piece, but since there's this dead space inside the part, when you fit these together and you turn it on, it perfectly diffuses the LEDs. You can't see the LEDs, it's just a monolithic light, even in person. Now here's the kicker. The only soldering we have to do for this thing is to desolder these wires for the AAAs, and solder our own connector onto this that'll lead to a battery pack. That is it. That is all we have to do. In this case, I'm going to be using these barrel connectors because 1, I think they just look cool, and 2, it's circular, meaning there's no wrong direction to connect it. It's not like a USB cable where you either try to jam it in one way, it doesn't work, you try jamming it in the other way, it doesn't work. It's just gonna work. And with all that out of the way, I'm gonna bring in the camera a little bit closer and we're gonna start assembling this thing. So how about we start with the easiest part, just tossing these coils right in there. See if it fits. There we go. And the coils are in. Don't need to glue these in place. I'm not worried about this falling out ever again. It's basically stuck there till the end of time. Voila, and voila. No longer need this. And on top of that, we don't need to memorize which is which because on the PCB, it clearly says plus and minus for positive and negative, which is absolutely wonderful. So since the barrel connector can't fit through this hole, I'm just gonna run this barrel connector wire through the hole and solder it from the other way. Now, since we are going to be installing this inside the arc reactor and we're not gonna have access to this button, I'm gonna solder a tiny piece of wire between both contacts of the button. That way it just turns on automatically when it plugs in and we don't have to worry about the button. As you can see, I added the little piece of yellow wire from the battery to the switch. It goes from one side to the other. That way, whenever we plug in the arc reactor, it's gonna bypass the switch and it's gonna turn on automatically, so we won't have to worry about pressing this button from inside the arc reactor. So if I just plug this into our battery pack, that should just turn on just like that. Voila. Now we can finally start closing this thing up. So now that this is here, we can probably just glue these two pieces together all around this. That way we can just glue it to the core, just like so. Maybe add a little bit of accelerator. That way I don't have to worry about this thing falling apart immediately. There we go. Sick, just not, there we go. Okay, so it just locked into place, just like so. Let me just test this out to make sure it still works. Yep, still turns on, that's great. So let's just plop this in. This is a friction fit. This is not going anywhere. There we go, managed to get this thing on. just like so. Don't think I'm gonna need any glue for this. This is not going anywhere. This is permanently affixed to this. Awesome. Now, all we need to do is to add a little bit of glue to that and then a little bit of glue in here. That way we can glue it to the rest of the arc reactor. I'll try not to add nearly as much glue as the last time. Geez, that looks good. That is insane. Definitely gonna add some glue inside of this though. Just smush that on just like that. Maybe put it face down so the weight actually glues it into place. But I'm pretty satisfied with the results. Look at this. Look at this. Insanity. So I knew this thing would be pretty straightforward to assemble, but I didn't think it would be this easy. Now before we light this thing up, let me just grab this scale right here and we're actually gonna test how much this thing weighs. Just drop this on right here and it weighs 403 grams, so that's nearly half a spool of filament. And if I'm not mistaken, that is very, very close to a pound. That is about 0.86 pounds, something like that. So yeah, no, this thing is pretty hefty. Now this video wouldn't be complete if I didn't actually light this up. So let me just set this here, grab our battery, and plug this baby up. Dude, I am absolutely shocked by how well the light is diffused inside of these resin parts. This shouldn't work this well, yet it does. I just want to stare at it, but I keep getting blinded by it. This light is actually pretty strong. I just don't know what to say. This thing looks incredible. It feels like an actual prop from the film. It was extremely difficult to sand these parts. However, it was clearly worth it in the end. So if you guys are interested in making your own, I have a link down below to PCBWay's website where you can get a discount for your first order. And I'll also have an Amazon link to where you can get these lights so you can build your very own arc reactor. If you guys want to see more arc reactor related content, that was an absolute mouthful, please leave a comment in the comments down below. If you like this video, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit that subscribe button. And with that said, I hope to see you in the next video.